Okay, so if you're using Lovable with your own Supabase project, your setup looks something like this, which is great, but there is a problem with it. That Lovable preview that shows you what you're currently working on, it's pointing to your backend in this Supabase project, which happens to be the same one that your published application in Lovable is pointing to. What this means is that as you make changes and you experiment with features in Lovable, those changes are being automatically applied to the site that your users are using, and there's no gate to prevent it. So that's not great. So in this video, we're gonna fix this by splitting development from production and using two really cool tools, GitHub and Vercel. So let's do it. I'm gonna start by going into my Lovable project. So this is the Lovable project. Let's give it some time for the preview to refresh. Okay, you can see this is my journaling app. It's just a simple journaling app. And I'm going to connect it to GitHub. And to do that, I go to settings. The third option here is Git. You can sync it to GitHub. I'm going to choose my organization in GitHub, this one. And it's going to automatically start syncing it to GitHub. That transfers the code ownership from Lovable to GitHub. So now you can see that my repository is here in GitHub. It's called Mind Scribble Journal, and it was created when I created the application, but it was just moved to GitHub. The other thing that we're going to do is actually switch Lovable so that it doesn't work in our main branch. It works off a, let's say, new development branch. Let's call it the dev. What this is going to do is that we're isolating completely Lovable so that it can only modify things in development, but not in production. We're going to make that main branch in GitHub our production branch. Okay, so let's make a really simple change to my application in Lovable. Let's say I just want to change a color. So change the background color to the header to light navy blue. Okay, this is done. It actually does not look good, but this is not a design tutorial. So let's just check that the changes actually did not happen in the main branch, but in the development branch. So you can see that we have here a development branch and that we made a commit just right now in the source folder where we're storing our application. If I go to the main branch, you can see that my source folder has not been updated in the last 4 days. So the changes are actually happening in development, which is what we want. Now, by using branches for development, you can now have many more developers actually working on this application on different features at the same time, just using different branches. And each of them can use their own preferred tool. They can use local development tools with Cloud Code in terminals, with Codex, with Cursor, Gemini, whatever. And you can also have some of them working with Lovable. Now, by now that we've pointed our Lovable application exclusively to our development environment, we need a new way to deploy our front-end application to users. This is often called production. And so for this, we're going to be using a tool called Vercel and configuring it so that it listens on changes on that main branch in GitHub and deploys automatically after every merge without any manual steps. So let's go to Vercel. Once you log in Vercel, you're going to have to integrate your GitHub repository first, which is actually natively integrated with Vercel. And then what you simply do is that you start a new project and then you can import it right there from GitHub. If you haven't done this before, it's going to give you a click to authorize access to your GitHub repository. But I've already done that. So all I have to do is to import this new project I created. It checks what the application is. It checks the root directory. You can just leave all the defaults for simple cases. And let's deploy it on Vercel and see what happens. Great, so this took about less than a minute, and now we have our site published to the internet in its own URL. You can see the URL here, Mind Scribble, it's a Vercel URL. This is published in Vercel. So let's actually push this blue change that we have here in a development branch in GitHub, and we're gonna actually create a pull request to merge that into our main production site. So you can see that our main production site, again in Vercel, where did I put that link? Okay, here in Vercel, is actually not blue. So this is our previous version of our application. We have one in development that we actually want to publish. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is create a pull request. This pull request is to, let's say, add blue color. So we create the pull request. When the pull request is open, it gives us time to review. But let's say that we're happy with the changes and we're going to say, yes, please merge it. Right? So you confirm and you merge. So once the branch is merged, if we go to our repository, you can see that source in main, which was actually recently updated, right, when we made the change in that branch. And you can also see here that there's something going on, and it's Vercel that is actually pending a deployment. Let's give it some time to see after it deploys. Okay, so the deployment is done, and now if we visit our site, this is the old version. I'm going to refresh it. You can see now it's got the blue. So automated deployments with Vercel are super easy. Just listen on the change in main, and they just happen. But now that we have a dedicated production application hosted on Vercel, we need a dedicated production database that employs the same or deploys the same way, automatically on merge in main. And Supabase does that. We have also a GitHub integration that does exactly that. So anytime a migration file lands on that main repository, let me go to my GitHub account here. So every time that a change happens in this Supabase folder that hasn't changed in 4 days, then changes get automatically applied to Supabase. Let me actually take the time here to show you what's inside this folder. So inside the Supabase folder, the key 2 things you're going to find is migration files, which contain every time that you change the schema. And there's also this config toml file, which includes all the configuration that's needed in Supabase. And so let's do this. I'm going to go to supabase.com, to my dashboard, open my organization, and create a new project that I'm going to call prod. Probably need a better name, but that's going to be sufficient for now because the other one is called dev. And I'm just going to leave all the defaults here. You can see that it's a $10 per month project. Let's give it some time for it to spin up. Okay, so it looks like that is ready. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to project settings and I'm going to enable the 2 integrations. The first one is the integration with GitHub, which is actually going to help Supabase deploy automatically once we make changes to that main branch. So what was my repo called? Oof, I have so many. Let me just check it. Oh, mind. Okay, mind scribble. There it is. Okay, mind scribble, working directly. I'm just gonna leave all this as default and enable the integration. And once that's done, I'm going to actually also enable the integration with Vercel. So let's go and click that. Because what the integration with the Vercel does is that it syncs the environment variables between your local development and also production, so that you don't actually need to exchange any environment variables and all things are integrated seamlessly. And so I'm gonna configure this for my project. Okay. Ooh, I've got a lot of those. Okay, so add a new project connection. The Supabase project is called prod, this one, and the Vercel project is called MindScribble. As you can see, it's going to sync a whole bunch of environment variables. And the important thing that I need to do is, here, config connection is, where is it? Here, okay. So this is a byte application, and so it's not a next application, so I'm going to get void dash, and let's just enable everything, which I'm going to explain later. So it's going to sync environment variables for all the environments that we create together between Vercel and Supabase. Okay, so now let me just quickly resync environment variables just in case, and let's make a change. So let's see the whole thing going through. So let's go to my journal app, and I'm going to say a change that actually modifies our database. Add a character count to each journal entry and show it visually, as well as store it in a database in a new column that stores an integer. It's a very simple change, but it's going to modify our front-end application with Vercel and our backend with Supabase. Let's give it some time. Okay, so this looks like it's done. You can see that every post now has a character count. So let's see that this is in development. So let's go to our repository, and we can see that in development here there are changes that just happen in the application and also in Supabase. We can see that in the Supabase folder there's probably a new migration file. There is new migration file created, but this is actually not happening in production. So production only has one migration file. This is perfect. So what we need to do now is to merge that change. So we can go to pull requests, open a new pull request, and say you want to merge dev into main. So you can see it tells you what was changed in source, but also migration files down here. So let's create that pull request, and let's say character count. When pull requests are open, this is the time to actually review and test, but because this is simple and it's just a demo, I'm just gonna go and say merge it. And now let's give it some time for this to actually happen. If you go back to main, you'll see that now there are two things happening here. There's the automatic deployment on Vercel and the automatic deployment on Supabase. Let's give it some time and we'll be back when this deploys. Okay, so you can see now that those actions have finished and they say they've been successful. You can obviously get into more details for those, but what I want to see is that this is actually deployed in production. So let's go to our production app, which is this one, and I'm gonna refresh this page. There you go, now we have characters. So we actually now deployed to production using that gate of the pull request. So let's wrap this up. This is a high-level overview of what's going on, and now there's a lot in this thing. So this main branch that you can see here in the middle, this acts as production. And so any changes that happen from V1 to V2, they only happen when we go from V1 to V2, it means there are changes happening in production. And this happen automatically because I have integrated Vercel with GitHub, Supabase with GitHub, and the environment variable exchange actually work, and we didn't have to do anything manually because we have that Vercel and Supabase integration. Now our development environment is completely isolated, so you can create as many branches as you want and get your own preview and work on as many features as you want. And this gate, that pull request, is what actually prevents you from deploying to production. So nothing reaches your users by accident, or at least in theory. So we can still improve this. Think about it. If you have more than one developer, let's say 10 or 20 or 20, or why not 100? What if someone merges to the main by mistake? So right now there's nothing stopping that. And even if you merge intentionally, how do you know that you are deploying something that actually works and isn't breaking something else? So in the next video, we'll fix both of those by making your deployments safer in two ways. The first one is we're going to be protecting this main branch in GitHub, so nothing can merge without an approval or without an approver. And second, we're going to be adding automated testing on an isolated environment that Vercel and Supabase gives us temporarily for each pull request. See you next time.